So that's us on to episode 2 of season 3, entitled Paperclip. And I suppose we should have a caveat at the start of this episode, because I think it's been a while since we actually watched this and took our notes on it. Because I know I watched all 3 of these episodes, the 3-parters condensed, and like the consummate professional I would like to be, I didn't watch it again. So
yeah, for those who don't realise, like I went to Zambia, then Graham went off and did something, so we needed to have a break between these recordings, and so I think we probably both watched this episode before we went off and did our own things, and so it's been a while, but we've got notes. Let's see just how reliable these notes actually are. All right. So we pick up after the last episode, and Albert Hosteen tells us the story of what he calls a Gila monster, and then another story from another tribe of Indians about the white buffalo women who came down from the heavens and taught the Indians how to live virtuous lives before ascending back into the heavens. A white buffalo was born on the day after Mulder had been saved, which is a powerful omen. I'm guessing you were absolutely riveted to this scene.
Yeah, there's so many subtext and none of it was interesting to me. I couldn't be sure if they were talking about whether it was just deep-seated different religions, or whether they're talking about aliens with the white buffalo and things like that. And then I was just like, I want to move on with the plot already. I'm just like, because we'd like left on cliffhangers again, it feels like it's almost teasing you, and I know it's alluding to things later on in the episode and much like that, but I'm eager to get into the meat of the story again. What about yourself?
I mean, you listen to that story, and it does, not only does it sound like it could be UFO related, but also it sounds very similar if you think about thematically, obviously not with regards to the specifics, but thematically it is very similar. I gotta say, I know you're gonna shake your head as soon as I sound this, but it does sound very similar to the whole Jesus mythology, in that you've got something that comes down that is symbolized as purity, given it's white, and is seen as the savior of this particular nation. It does make you wonder where that mythology was born from. But anyway, whatever. Moving on. To me, I'm not engaged with it. I gotta say, it feels it just overly like they're going for something of the spiritual nature, but when I'm not really. Yeah, I'm not digging it. I don't know. Moving on. So Scully and Skinner have a standoff. So as you'll recall, in the previous episode, we left with them kind of facing off with each other, guns pointed at each other, and Mulder suddenly bursts in and ends it. He lets Skinner keep the DAT tape, before taking Scully with him to look for, as he puts it, truths out there that aren't on that tape.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the shocking moment, because up until then they both believe Mulder to be gone.
Yeah.
Obviously
we knew he wasn't, but
I mean, there's another several seasons as well. So it kind of it's that's the one detriment to going back to it now. Most of these things that have been robbed from the TV show. But we've got the core group of characters, and it's a nice representation of their constant infighting, because they are sometimes trustworthy, sometimes standoffish, sometimes they're just against each other, and it's just a nice visual representation of their relationship within this moment. From being Scully and Skinner standing off to Mulder coming in and kind of trusting Skinner, and then you're waiting on the things to fall apart again.
I just love the look on Scully and Skinner's face, just the absolute shock, and you can see Mulder's milking it as well. he's like, yeah, I'm back, bitches. You know, it's like it's all over his face. But yeah. So Scully, they go out into the corridor, and Scully tells Mulder that she told her mum that she knew he was alive. If you remember in the last, you I think you had some issues with that bit, like, because she just randomly went up to Mulder's mum, who was grieving at the time, and just said, "I actually think he's still alive." You know.
Have you any proof? No.
No, just
a feeling.
Feeling it. Yeah. But yeah, so, but I like that she's able to admit that to Mulder. It feels like, I don't know, that's progress for her to be able to tell him that, hey, I had this thing that maybe can't be explained and I acted on it. What do you think, Mulder?
Yeah.
You know, give me a pat on the back. So pat on the back there for Scully. But meanwhile, Scully's sister fights on life support. Her mum arrives thinking that she's there for Dana. So that's quite a
it seems a bit of a strange one, because we all knew what was going to happen with that storyline, and literally thought she was dead, and now she's in a coma, but she's been shot in the head.
Yeah.
The outcome's not looking good.
Yeah. It is that kind of playing with the character's emotions of like she's prepared herself to go there and find Dana in that condition. Do you feel like maybe it's more shocking for her that it's Melissa, that maybe because of the line of work that Dana's in, she almost half expected it and was in some way prepared for it, whereas with Melissa it's suddenly like, oh, that is not the sister I was expecting at all.
I don't know, just as a parent, any kind of kid that's been in serious damage, I don't think you can be like, I thought it was my favourite. Sorry.
That bullet. Oh no, she didn't.
It's just one anguish for another type of thing.
Yeah.
But you can kind of see almost the writing here as to what this is going to bring forward in the episode, for the closure of the characters and for the grieving process, and to kind of add a little bit of melodrama to the proceedings.
Okay. We get a scene with the lone gunmen. So they tell Mulder and Scully about one of the men in the photo with Mulder's father, a man named Victor Klemper. So he was part of Operation Paperclip, hence the title of the episode, where Nazi scientists were brought over from Germany after the Second World War to continue their experiments. Frohickey arrives with news about Scully's sister, and Mulder has to stop her from leaving because they will most likely be waiting for her at the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to see the lone gunman there. But they start to bring in this conspiracy theory, the whole thing about the Nazi war criminals and that, and almost instantly, I wasn't interested.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was like, there was so much else going on that I wanted to get to, that I felt this was another spanner getting thrown in, and I was like, I don't know if I'm overly interested. Where it goes from here, it's great, but just initially,
right? Okay, it's really hard now to. I can't look back that far enough and remember what my initial.
I mean, thinking back to the episode and knowing where it goes from there, it becomes really interesting and really quite, something to latch on to. But my initial opinion when I saw this was just like, not another one of these like wild conspiracy things. But
I think that, like, knowing where the mythology goes, I do like this connection to. I say like, purely from a story writing terms. I like that they feed into history like that, and kind of milk the ever present evil of the Nazis. if you need
it's a go-to
an evil,
villain.
it is pretty much. It's the Indiana Jones kind of anything. But yeah, no, I do like the mythology that they start to build here. So don't know. Let's see where it goes over the season and how you might feel about it then. But so we go to the Syndicate, and they're grilling Cancer Man for his assassin's cock up. So because they shot the wrong sister, basically.
Yeah, I like the Syndicate a lot. I don't know why, but it's just something that I really like. This almost consortium of fat cat rich men who are just there, making life or death decisions. While reading a newspaper or having a drink or something. Just there's something that really just captivates me about that, and I think it's something that I hope continues, because it's something that I really do like. Because you have all these. There's not one large arch nemesis. You have this group of people, and there is politics going on within it. There is infighting, so there's always kind of who's trying to get the upper hand and who's going to come out on top. So I really like this aspect of the episode.
Yeah, because like with any other series, you tend to get that one clear-cut top villain, and they remain that clear-cut top villain throughout the series. And as a result, you know that they're never going to get killed, at least not until the very end, until the last episode or whatever. Whereas here, it's like literally at any point, one of the members could become more powerful than the rest. There could be a coup. There could be factions where they split off and make up separate groups. So it could literally go anywhere. But well manicured man really digs the heels in and wants to see the DAT tape that Cancer Man claims to have. And Cancer Man looks very nervous, which I really like. Because like you say, it's up to this point, Cancer Man has been the big bad. And then you see him in this room full of peers, and all of a sudden he kind of looks like a child out of his depth, which is really interesting. He uses what power he has when he's with Mulder to kind of come off as superior and whatnot, and yet when he's in this room with these guys, he's suddenly not necessarily top of the food chain anymore. So yeah, I like that. Mulder and Scully go to see Klemper, and Scully cannot hide her disdain for this guy. It is written large all over her face. He eventually gives them the location of the mill that's in the photo, along with a clue, Napier's Constant.
Now, obviously, like we said before, I'm a little bit foggy on certain aspects of this episode, but I've got my notes here that I really like this guy. And I don't know if it was his performance or what. Yeah. I can't say it's like it remembers back now, but obviously I don't like the person. No, I do. I find him an interesting character. I think it's probably what you mean as well. I think he's an info dump, really, isn't he?
He is an info dump, but he's an info dump with a backstory and a clear motive. He's like, you get the sense of history from this guy. You get the sense of how he's tied into the Syndicate and what impact he may have had on the world due to his insane and evil experiments. So, but yeah, there's a lot tied up into this one kind of little character who basically is only in this episode. So yeah, I do. I like him. I like how he's portrayed, and I just love that interplay between him and Scully, where Scully literally looks like she just wants to tear this guy's head off, given half the chance. And you don't often see that from her, I don't think.
Yeah, Scully's usually kind of across the board even with her moods. She's never really goes wildly in one way or another. Here she's quite clearly against this guy. Also, what is with this kind of trope? You don't see it too many times in movies like that, but like old evil guys doing gardening. You see, when I think about it, I've seen it in quite a few movies.
Yeah, it's. I think it's because it's that idea that you retire you still want to remain active, but because of the acts that you've done that you're maybe not too proud of, you kind of want to slink away somewhere and I don't know, get back with nature or something.
See, I've always got the feeling that they're fertilising the plants with bodies or something, you know.
Right.
I feel like they're still being that evil way.
Yeah, you go there. I'll go with the guilt
redemption.
and redemption. Yeah. So okay. Where are we? So Klemper calls. So Mulder and Scully leave, and just as they leave, Klemper calls the well-manicured man to tell him that Mulder is alive, and well-manicured man is the most venal man he has ever met.
Yep.
I kind of feel like he would still be alive if not for that last comment.
Right.
It's like he had to push it, didn't he? Like he could have told him where Mulder and Scully was, but he just said, "Oh, and you're the most venal man I've ever met. Come kill me."
Pretty much. It's just I don't know. I suppose when you get to that age, you just don't care.
I think it's literally he's like in this moment with Mulder and Scully, he has finally been able to confess his sins, and because he's done that, I think he feels that he can now go to his grave.
Do you think it's a kind of like a almost na because like I've gave him the info that's going to come and possibly lead or going to cause you some big problems, so do whatever you want. I know that I've caused you a burden. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So we go back to the hospital, and Mrs. Scully waits with Melissa. Some guy lurks in the corridor, and then Albert Hosteen arrives to pray over Melissa on behalf of Scully. Yeah, just some good old Indian magic.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It is a bit strange that someone who is Catholic would ask someone who is Navajo to come and pray over their sister.
Yeah.
Is it just me who thinks that? Because are you not mixing your...
well, she's extremely sceptic about almost everything. But maybe in this moment of need, she's willing to open herself up just to try anything. Possibly.
Maybe,
and she knows,
yeah.
And she knows that Mulder was at death's door and was brought back, possibly. Maybe she's just grasping at straws.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think maybe the Mulder angle is... Yeah, okay. It's just like, as a Christian, like I wouldn't ask, say, a Muslim or a Buddhist to go and pray for my loved one. I would ask a Christian to go and pray for my loved one. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But anyway, blah 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 blah. Mulder and Scully arrive at the mill. They find huge ass doors that need codes to enter. The code is Napier's constant. So there's a formula, something called Napier's constant. I no idea what that is. No. And Scully tells Mulder to be sure before he goes through the door. So the door opens. Mulder's about to step through it, and Scully's like, "Are you sure? Are you sure you want to step through that door? In case they find stuff on his dad." To which Mulder replies by walking through the door.
Well, in all fairness, we've had so many episodes, we've leaded up to this, and then you're in front of a door and you're saying behind this may be an answer to everything that you've been looking for. Maybe you shouldn't go through
it. You've gone to the trouble of getting there, and but do you not think this is borne out more of Scully's fear rather than her fear for Mulder? That she's the one who's going to be confronted with something behind that door that is going to challenge her belief system and her thoughts on science and whatnot. Do you not think her trying to maybe reason with Mulder is not necessarily for his benefit but more for hers?
I think just talking about it with you now, I think we may have a Scully who is not in her usual self, because obviously she's brought in the Indian to help. She's not thinking clearly. She must know that there's no chance that she's talking Mulder out of not going through that door. And you could be right, she could be all over the place about what's going to be behind there regarding her. So I think we've got a Scully who's not her usual self, not thinking clearly.
Yeah, she's got a sister in a hospital who's most likely going to die. The last thing she needs now is her worldview also being shattered by something that is behind that door. So, so Cancer Man. There's a cut. I put in my notes. Mulder opens the door, and then I put, as does Cancer Man, into Skinner's office. There's a nice kind of jump transition. Cut. Yeah, really nice transition, which I liked. It helps to build pace, I think, as we're getting into this kind of final act. Everything seems to be speeding up. Skinner tells him that he may have located the tape, but it may fall into the wrong hands. Cancer Man says he doesn't do deals. Skinner says he might have it next time they meet. And Cancer Man says he hopes his next course of action is more cautious and informed. A really nice exchange between the two of them as Skinner starts to get the upper hand with this guy.
And again, as much as we see that Scully's not her usual self, Cancer Man, his world has been shaken a little bit, and things aren't going the way he had planned. So he's almost kind of panicky, and he raises his voice and he gets a little bit more animated than he usually has. So it's nice to see the villain having a moment of crisis.
It's real, isn't it? It feels genuine. It feels like, okay, you see, you've got this guy whose power is based all around what he knows, the secrets he keeps. That's his power. That's what he holds over the rest of the world. So once those secrets are taken from him and other people got, his power's gone. He has no power anymore, and it's like it's a really interesting dichotomy, I think, and they explore it quite well. So it just humanizes the guy, really humanizes him. So Mulder and Scully find loads of records, medical files, alphabetized, lots and lots of files, smallpox vaccination files, tissue samples. Mulder finds a file on Scully, then his sister, that also has his name underneath his sister's name. So almost like a decision was made to take Mulder, and then the decision was changed, and they put, rather than getting a new file and getting a new label on it, they thought, we'll just stick the name of his sister over his. But how do you feel about that revelation?
I like this whole scene when they're through there. I think it's one of those visually striking scenes where you've got the file cabinets in amongst this cave almost. It's really odd looking, but from a visual standpoint it just looks pretty cool. And then you start to discover that they've been chronicling almost every childbirth from a certain point, and you're like, why are they doing that? Why the hell is it hidden in a mountain somewhere? Why do they know about abductees? Why do they have information? It's so many questions, but it's not ones that you're going to get instant answers to. So it's like a happy mystery. You're like, oh, this is cool, this is going to lead to so much other things, and if I don't get an answer straight away, I'm fine with that because it's just cool.
It's just kind of slowly drip feeding you information in it. So just as that bombshell is dropped, the lights go out. Mulder legs it outside and sees a UFO, while Scully sees what look like little aliens running past her.
This is awesome. One of my favourite bits. Right, you have to go to the Nazi guy, get the secret code for the doors, discover where the doors are, get into them, and then there's a hole in the wall just to get out. We've got all these security measures to get into the place, but there's literally a hole in the wall. And I'm like, really? This is happening? I thought it was terrific.
It's like having a bank vault with this high-tech security, really thick steel vault with all this cash in, and then a little hole in the back in which people could just, if they just came around the back, they could wander straight in. Absolutely brilliant.
Loved
absolutely
it.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Had you not thought about that one, Brian? No.
I hadn't, to be honest, because I thought this is an old mine. There would be ways in and out, and like the only explanation is that the people who put those doors on didn't know that tunnel was down there. But yeah, how could anyone buy that, really? And Scully only knows it's there because of the light that comes from the UFO. But even so, there's still a flipping tunnel there with a.
Well, you've
with
got
a
to
door
imagine
that
in
leads
daylight.
outside.
There's got to be a bright light there as well.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So I don't know. Who knows? It's definitely the biggest flaw in the episode. It must be said. In fact, I may be dropping my score down because of that. Oh man, yeah,
Sorry,
ridiculous. Brian. Oh man. Okay. Moving on. So cars arrive, government agents, men with guns. Mulder dodges bullets, then Scully leads them out through a door at the end of a tunnel. Moving on, Skinner meets them in a diner. Says he can use the tape to make a deal and save them. Mulder says no. Scully says, "What good is the tape if you're going?" Skinner says, "What good is the tape if you're going to be hunted down like animals?" Plus, that is Scully. Plus, she needs to see her sister. Mulder says it's up to her, so he puts the decision into her hands.
It's kind of alluding to what's coming at the end. It's one of these things that's going to have to be used to save our heroes. And it's pretty much there just to, so we don't have that damp squid of an ending. It's just going to put it in the mind that this is possibly going to be the outcome of the episode.
Yeah. So it's the only leverage they've got, basically. So
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But if it suddenly got to the end of the episode and they just I swapped the tape for this, you'd just have been like, oh.
Yeah.
So.
No, but like more than that, to be honest, what this conversation really is, which is one of the main themes of the X-Files in general, is that question: how much are you willing to sacrifice for the truth? How much are you willing to give up for the truth? They've got the truth there on that tape. And the question is, how much are you willing to give up? And at this point, Scully isn't willing to give up their freedom and not being able to see her sister again. So that answers the question right there, which actually isn't the kind of answer you would probably normally get in a film. When you have these movies about what it takes to get the truth out there, people risk everything, they give everything. In this case, that's not so. Which is more realistic to me. It's like, we'll find the truth another way. This isn't it. So I do like that choice that has been put on the table there and what it means. So Albert Hosteen says that the white buffalo calf stopped drinking its milk. On the third day, its mother lay down and would not get up. He says this is how life is, that in order for something to live, another must make a sacrifice, which basically feeds into what's just been done with Mulder and Scully and the tape and Scully's sister, and there's a lot of sacrifices being made and stuff. So Skinner arrives, tells Mrs. Scully he's working to bring Dana back. Albert tells him about the lurker, being very curious about the room. Skinner goes after him, but he's jumped by 3 men, including Krycek and a Hispanic man. Puts up a pretty good fight, must be said, considering it's 3 against 1. But in the end, pretty much gets nailed and has the tape stolen.
It's nice to see Krycek back again.
Yeah,
and it's good to see Skinner handling himself.
Yeah.
You know, it's a fairly decent scene. Can't say I remember the tape going missing. I forgot all about that.
Yeah. So, yeah, there will be no deal because
tape's gone.
Skinner. Yeah. Interestingly, though, it's Krycek who now has the tape. So yeah, interesting. Krycek narrowly avoids being killed in a car bomb set by his cronies that he's with. So yeah, and a way to give away the car bomb by having the clock flash like that. But yeah, nice explosion there. Some nice work, nice camera work. Yeah, I like the camera work because I always like stuff like that, stunts and whatnot, when the actor is clearly in the shot. Yeah, because we see Nicholas Lee getting out of the car, and then he starts running, and the camera just comes with him. And then once he gets a certain distance, the car blows up behind him, and it's a lot more cinematic, and it brings you into the action a lot more because you can see that it's actually the actor that's involved in that stunt. I think it's Rob Bowman who directed this. Once again, being very cinematic there. But yeah, great stuff. Really well directed. Mulder and Scully go to see Klemper, but find well manicured man there instead, who tells them Klemper's heart had given out. Yeah. If you believe that, you'll believe anything. He says they've collected tissue on everyone since 1950 to conduct tests on alien-human hybridization. Scully says pure science fiction, and Mulder is being told what he wants to hear. Well manicured man also says that his sister was taken as an insurance policy to help Mulder's father stay quiet. A lot of revelations there. Yeah,
but again, is this guy being honest? Is he telling the truth? Is it to meet his own ends? I kind of like these duplicitous, villainous characters. You're never sure what's truth, what's poison, what's half truth. It's exciting.
It is. Just that idea, though, of smallpox vaccinations really being about the government being able to have tissue samples of everyone so that they can. That's
terrifying.
It is terrifying because I could very much believe it. I could very much believe it. I've got my own thoughts on vaccinations, but we won't get into them because I don't want to get into a big political mess with regards to anyone listening. But yeah, let's just say I could very easily believe that scenario. Maybe not necessarily about aliens or anything like that, but yeah. Anyway. Krycek calls Cancer Man, tells him if he even feels his presence, he's going to make him a very famous man. Because obviously he's got the tape, he's got the secrets. Cancer Man tells the syndicate that the tape was destroyed in a car bomb that killed Scully's would-be assassin. Which I just... This guy, seriously. It's like, how can he not think that he's not going to get found out, you know?
I mean, this is the second time he already proclaimed that Mulder was dead.
Oh dear. Yeah, okay. Mulder wakes his mum up to ask her if his father ever made her make a choice between him and his sister. She said she couldn't choose. It was his father's choice, and she hated him for it, and hates him still. It's kind of why I had that question earlier on about Scully's mum. Like the mindset between her children. Had she prepared herself maybe for the loss of Scully at some point because of the line of work she was in? Had she in some way made peace with that? I'm not saying she was rocking up thinking it's all right, it's only Scully, but there was something in there that was maybe prepared for it. Is there that thing? Is there that underlying thing that as parents, actually deep down, we do make choices like that between our children, which is the reason I only have one, so I don't ever have to make that choice. But Mulder's father, he did make that choice. This isn't just a case of are we speculating? No, he made the choice. Mulder or Samantha, and he chose Samantha.
What a guy.
What a guy. What a man. What a great father. Cancer Man goes to see Skinner, threatens him. Then Skinner says it's time for him to pucker up and kiss my ass, which is the line that we've been waiting for quite some time. Yeah, this is a favourite of Mitch Pileggi's. Whenever he's talking about his favourite moments from the X-Files in interviews and stuff, he always seems to bring this moment up as one of his favourites. He says Albert and 20 other Navajo have memorised details on the tape and are willing to share if anything happens to Mulder and Scully, because obviously the tape was in the Navajo language, so they could read it. There we go. Whether it's true or not is a different matter altogether, which, let's face it, it isn't.
Well, they do. I can't remember if it's this episode or if it's another one where they talk about that's how they pass down the most important things by spreading the stories. So it kind of ties it back up to that, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, it's a thing within a lot of cultures. You look at Jewish culture, that's how a lot of their things were passed down. They were, storytellers. So Mulder goes to the hospital, finds Scully next to Melissa's bed, but no Melissa. She's died. Scully says there is no justice, that Mulder was right. He says it's about fate. They have no control over it, but he's more certain than ever that the truth is out there. Yawn. Scully says she's heard the truth, now she wants some answers, which, when you think about it, is a bit of a misnomer, because the truth kind of is the answer.
Yeah.
Sure. It's almost like saying I've heard the truth, now what I want is the truth.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, it's the implication there is that the truth they've been given may not necessarily be the truth at all.
Oh man, I guess I get flummoxed at the end.
Yeah. Go on, wrap up.
Wrap up. I think it's a decent episode, and it's a nice sort of end to the trilogy of this story. I think it's probably not as good as I hoped it was going to be. It does have some fantastic moments in it, particularly the whole idea of the cataloguing of the entire nation. You do get to see scenes of the characters being a little bit out of sorts and having to make tough decisions, and I did like that. But ultimately, I felt like of the 3 episodes, that this was probably I'd say the weakest, but it's a good episode, if you know what I mean. But compared against episodes 1 and 2 of this 3-parter, it probably was the one I enjoyed the least, I think.
Right. Okay.
But still for me, it's a solid 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I'd go with that. I'm not sure if I'd say it was the weakest. The Blessing Way for me got bogged down with a lot of the going back to Mulder and the ceremony that they were doing. I wasn't that engaged with that stuff, because every time they came away from Scully, I felt like what was going on with her was far more interesting. Whereas here, I like that Mulder and Scully are together. I like that they're out there in the thick of it together. I like that Skinner gets a nice bit of action. I like that we've got Krycek back. This guy Klemper, the mythology that they're building with all the vaccination stuff, and I like this one. I think that the terrible escape, it is a flaw, it must be said. Quite a gaping one, really. It's like it's what is it they call it, Deus Ex Machina or something. It just feels like you get out of jail free card. Poor writing in that respect, but I originally had the grade at 4.5 out of 5. I'm going to take that half off, and I think I agree with you. I'll give it a 4. So
yeah, good episode. So next episode is WPO, I believe. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that. Is that a big episode?
I don't know that it's a big episode. To be honest, I think it's an episode that feels more Smallville than it does X-Files.
Right. Okay.
Which, take that however you wish, but it is the first appearance for me. I think he may have done a few little things before it, but for me it was the first thing I'd ever seen Giovanni Ribisi in, and Jack Black as well. Mm-hmm. Jack Black also makes an appearance. So it's interesting seeing two really big actors who'd kind of made their start here. And going back and watching that and seeing them, that's interesting. But a big episode, probably not.
There you go. Something to look forward to on the next episode of the X-Files Revisited. We'll see you then for WPO.